I forget the date, the parade.
Good evening. I call to order the business meeting for the Faribault Public Schools School Board here on November 24th, 2025. Director Steves, do we have a quorum present?
Yes, Mr. Chair, there
Would
is.
everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Agenda item number 2 is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion for approval of the agenda with chair flexibility?
So move.
Thank you, Director Boudreau. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Robichaud. Discussion. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item number 3 is recognition, awards, and presentations. Our first presentation is our student athletes. Our presenter is Mr. Shane Gunderson, our activities director. So, good evening, Mr. Gunderson and outstanding athletes.
Yeah. I have two that I want to recognize today. First is Bryn Beardsley. Bryn has competed in varsity cross country since she was in 7th grade. She went to the state meet for the first time as an 8th grader, and since then has returned to the state meet every year in both cross country and track and field. In total, she's been to 9 state tournament appearances, with one more season yet to go, track and field in the spring. In the past track and field year, Bryn was part of a 4x800 team that placed 8th in the state and earned all state honors. This fall, running solo, she earned all state honors in cross country by finishing 25th. Bryn is known for being a hardworking, dedicated, and remarkably consistent. She leads by example and shows up every day committed to improving. One of her greatest strengths is that despite having her drive and competitive spirit, she finds time to have fun and make the sport enjoyable for all of her teammates. Bryn has recently accepted a scholarship to continue her running career at Bemidji State University. Colin Cox, to my right, stands as one of the most accomplished players in the history of Faribault soccer. A 4-year letterman and a 2-year captain, Colin consistently elevated the program through his leadership, work ethic, and exceptional play on the field. He's a 3-time scoring leader for the Falcons, breaking the single-season scoring record this year with 20 goals and adding 13 assists. He graduates as the program's all-time leading scorer with 38 career goals. Colin's impact extended far beyond Faribault. He is the first player in school history to earn all-state honors twice, selected to the second team as a junior and first team as a senior. And he is the first Falcon ever to be named to the All-State first team. This season, he also became the program's first Mr. Soccer finalist, finishing among the top 5 players in Minnesota's Class 2A. Through his talent, dedication, and character, Colin has set a new standard for excellence within the Faribault soccer program. His achievements have not only rewritten the record books, but have helped raise the profile of Faribault soccer throughout the state. Both these student athletes represent the Faribault Public Schools not only through their competitive achievement, but also through their dedication to academics and their leadership within the school community. So, thank you both.
Yes.
Can we get a picture?
Yes. So, board members, if you would like to come down and picture with our student athletes. Yep. Sure.
I didn't do anything. Coaches are
Congratulations, and thank you again, student athletes. Agenda item 3B is a statewide project award. Our presenter is Ann Faribault, Winona Area Public Schools Community Education Director, Minnesota Community Education Association Region 1 Board Representative. So welcome and good evening. We also have Ms. Cassie Riopel here as well, our Community Ed Director. So great.
Thank you for allowing me to present tonight. This is an honor as a Region 1 board to present a statewide award to your community education program here in Faribault Public Schools. It should be highly acknowledged that this is an outstanding program. The state is one of 10 that was awarded this year. This is not the first time I've been to Faribault to present awards. So I was here last year too. You have a lot to be proud of in your community education program here. The program, I'm going to let Cassie talk more about it too, but it was acknowledged for being innovative, providing community partnerships and reaching many children with a lot of resources. And so I will let her go into detail, but congratulations to your school district for having a good representation at multiple levels.
Yes. So you want me to talk into the mic?
Please.
So this is the second year Community Education has done the School Supplies for All initiative. Last year was the first year. This year we served 1,925 students with free school supplies, ages preschool through 8th grade. And we received about $41,000 in donations from businesses across the community and private donors. And each student arrived to the school with so in preschool through 5th grade, all their school supplies were organized by Amy Lunderby and a group of our team. And they just showed up to school and all the school supplies were there for the teachers and for the students. And then at the middle school level, it's a little bit different. It runs kind of like stations, and the students and teachers come through stations and get all the school supplies they need for each class. And that's a little overview of that. Are there any questions?
Just a comment as a parent, it's a wonderful program, and it's just a huge time saver and convenience, and parents can spend those dollars that they typically spend on school supplies on other things that are necessary for their kids' education. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 3C is Faribault DECA presentation. Our presenter is Mr. Jared Kegler, our CTE and Careers Pathway Coordinator and Head DECA Advisor. So I'm assuming Mr. Kegler is going to defer to the DECA students, which is just fine. So welcome and good evening, and speak into the mic. Introduce yourselves, and we'll go from there.
Hi, my name is Brianna Velasquez Sanchez, and I'm the Vice President of Faribault DECA, and I'm also a senior.
Hi, I'm Lexi Berger. I'm the president of the Faribault DECA program, and I'm also a senior.
Hi, I'm Jovelyn Vagnus. I'm a cabinet member in Faribault DECA, and I'm a junior.
Okay, so why are we here today? Today we are here to update you about last year and what our goals are for this coming year. We have a lot of goals coming up, so.
And so just kind of again what DECA is a business program. It's primarily seen as a business program that stands for Distributive Education Clubs of America. And it really just helps prepare young emerging leaders for careers such as marketing, entrepreneurship, and so forth, anything in business. But Faribault DECA has such a prominent program, especially we've had outstanding numbers, especially within like the district level, the state level, and the international level. So this is our 16th year, and I just want to share some highlights with you from the past 15 years. So we've had 192 district champions. We had 445 district medals, so that's first, second, and third. We've also had 521 state qualifiers, and as well as 84 state finalists. And then we've also had 115 ICDC qualifiers, and ICDC is the International Career Development Conference. We've also had 8 ICDC finalist medals, and we've had 1 ICDC third place trophy, and that's the highest award that you can get at DECA. That's the DECA glass.
Okay, just to recap a little bit about like this past year, we had 17 students go to the state competition, which is pretty good numbers. And along with that, we had 8 district champions and 15 total members of DECA got district medals.
Just a little continued recap. State finalist events included advanced level interview, entry level interview, apparel and accessories marketing, school-based enterprise, the food and retail section.
And then just to continue on with our achievements at state, we had 2 students that received trophies, so top 3. I know many of you might know Jillian Huberty. She just graduated. She placed second in the apparel and accessories role play and qualified for the international competition. She also placed third in the advanced level interview and as well double qualifying. And then Jovelyn Vagnus, who's here, she placed third in the entry level interview and qualified as well for the international competition. Lexi Berger and Hannah Peterson placed 5th in the school-based enterprise food services, and we received Thrive Awards in all of our chapter campaigns.
Okay, so our goals for this year and the following years, we really want to increase student involvement, and we're going to do that by doing more chapter projects, and those will be like business solutions and community service projects. And we recently just did our community service project where we made door decorations for a memory care facility, and we donated them, and we had members of the cabinet go there and they set up door decorations for people, and it was really nice. We're going to do a lock-in this year, and at the lock-in, we'll have alumni from Faribault DECA, and they'll come in and they will look over papers and be mock judges and just aid in like finalizing events and all that sort of stuff. We want to achieve the Thrive Awards in our Gold Chapter campaigns, which will be the promotional, the ethical leadership membership, and then the community service. And we want to have our Freddy's Locker Room become Gold Certified, which she'll talk about more.
Okay, so more 2026 goals for our school store, expanding our school store to a bigger location and gaining more school involvement, business classes, community involvement, and to help DECA grow. So we want to move across from our current location into a bigger store. We just got quoted from Metcon for about $66,000 and a total quote for about $80,000. So we're doing everything we can to fundraise because this would be really good for not only our DECA program, but our students.
And so now to share what we have actually achieved this year so far. So like just Jovi talked about earlier, we completed our community service project by creating door decorations and the holiday cards for the Faribault Senior Living Memory Care Unit. And we also recently attended the Back to Business Challenge Conference, which took place in Minneapolis, October 26th to the 27th. And we had 26 members attend overall. And just on the right of the screen, you see first-year member Leo Bunch, who received a medal for placing in the top 25 of his exam as the first year.
I feel like the slide's kind of self-explanatory, but you can follow us on social media. We post a whole bunch of updates. We show members that win. We show what we're doing like within our community. We update on projects and stuff like that. So we have Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and sometimes we're in the newspaper. You can look for us.
Thank you guys so much for having us here today. Does anyone have any questions?
Questions, board members? Director Robichaud.
Chairman, how do you engage businesses in your DECA program?
So there's a lot of different ways that we do this. Actually, we want to start having more local business involvement throughout our new school store, maybe by offering local business products within our school store inside of the school, because the goal would be for it to be a walk-in store, having a place where you can walk in and look around and students could buy different items from local businesses. Maybe say they don't have access to be able to buy Christmas presents for their family, they can find something in our store.
Great idea. I would like you to ask Mr. Wolf, Director Wolf, about his social media problems.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Director Boudreau.
I just want to thank you for coming. You all three look so professional, and you did your presentation so well, sharing all the information. Those are skills you learn in DECA, right?
Yes, yep.
And you've all three been very successful in the program. And I thank you for representing our school district and the
Thank you for having
competitions and doing so well. Thanks for coming.
So I do have a couple questions to get down in the weeds a little bit more, but first of all, one, how do students get involved in DECA initially? Say you're a freshman, or when you come into the Faribault High School, is it an after-school activity? Are there classes associated with, maybe just for the general public and the board here, just kind of give a brief overview? How do you get involved with that?
So we do a lot of recruitment starting at open house for ninth graders, or not even just ninth graders, anyone who wants to join. It's also, we do a lot of marketing for that in our business classes, or it's honestly just good for everyone. I'm not planning on going into business in the future. It's just good for everyone to have real world skills, and that's what we kind of show within our program. One thing in DECA is like a mock job interview, and you go compete as if it was an actual interview. So that's, every single person is going to have a job interview at some point. So that's kind of what we show within our program, is that everyone can benefit from it.
So what I'm hearing is through business classes at the high school, and then is DECA officially is like an after-school program or connected
We
with?
have meetings on Tuesday mornings.
Tuesday morning.
So people who have sporting events can still participate, and it doesn't get in the way of sports or anything of
Excellent,
that sort.
thank you. Director Wolf.
Ladies, congratulations, and also a big thank you to Mr. Kegler and all the leadership that he does with the DECA program. What would you say your one or two best things that you would tell to any 8th grader or an incoming 9th grader about DECA?
Number one, I don't get nervous anymore presenting in front of class. I don't, like, presenting in front of you guys is not something that gives me any nerves anymore. But if my freshman self, like, if you would have told me I was presenting in front of the school board right now, I'd be so nervous and shaking and everywhere. So it just grows your confidence tremendously throughout. Just from when I was a freshman to now when I'm a senior, the confidence level is completely different.
Great. Would the other two of you agree? Or anything different?
Absolutely. So as it said on there, entry-level interview, I went to ICDC for that, and I got a big trophy. And that severely helped me. And in my job interview, I recently had one, and it was, like, absolutely amazing. Like, the questions they asked and, like filling out the job interview, and, like, especially, like, it helped me, and it, like, helped me make real-world connections and, like, really showed me that DECA is important, and it is helping me.
For me, DECA has really helped me, just like Lexi said, grow my confidence. I know, like, my 8th grade self, I would be shaking when I present whenever. But, like, really now, just, like, being in DECA has really helped me to, like, ease my nerves when presenting to people, or just, like, presenting to a group of people especially. So just, like, it really has enhanced my soft skills and all.
Great, thank you. And then last but not least, will you have Godfather's Pizza tomorrow night at the girls' game or not?
Yes, we will.
Okay,
And make sure you come
Thank you.
earlier than you usually do to make sure that you get it.
So just a little inside baseball, if you will. They run the Freddie's Locker Room store at the high school in the concessions, and so I often go to the games and look for pizza, and sometimes they're sold out, so I'm not sure if they'll have the pizza
And I
tomorrow
think
night.
sometimes he does it just to test me to make sure that we have pizza by the end of the night for everybody.
Just checking their inventory management skills.
Any other discussion? Director Moore?
Yes, thank you, and congratulations. DECA has been around for a very long time. Back even in the dinosaur age when I was in school, I was in DECA. And so, but you've come a long way. And so congratulations.
Thank you.
Else? I would just like to say thank you for coming tonight and your presentation. How you represent Faribault Public Schools and DECA program is just outstanding. I'm just going to refer to yesterday at your fundraiser at the Legion. I believe I saw all three of you there.
Yep.
They're working, and just all the students and the many comments that I heard of how mature, how professional, how you handled your interactions with people was extraordinary. And you are, and as I've said for a long time to Mr. Kegler, our DECA students are the pride and joy and our star, not only in Faribault, but the state of Minnesota and the upper Midwest of this country of ours. So thank you. And also I need to do a good shout out to another helper, Amelia Griffin, Knudsen Griffin, and all the work she puts in as well with those kids as well. So thank you for your presentation, and thank you what you do, and we are so proud. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, and we need another picture, so up again.
Perfect. We will use that on our project.
I'm having a hard time getting it on Facebook.
I was going to say. Okay, so with the opportunity and the motion to approve the agenda with flexibility, I'm now going to move to agenda item 10C, our audit report. So, Ms. Raisler and Candace, I'm sorry I forgot your first name from Carolyn, let's see, our auditor here to present to you board members. So in board book, you will need to adjust and go down the agenda for that. So once again, board members, we will go through the entire presentation before we have any questions. So I will turn it over to you too, Carolyn.
Thank you so much, and very excited to be presenting this in November versus where we were last year. So this is Caroline Stutzman from Bergen KDV. Also, creative planning is known by Bergen KDV, and so Caroline will go through the audit presentation that is before you, and we will be asking for acceptance of the audit report when she is finished.
Thank you for the introduction and for having me tonight. I'm the partner involved in the audit for the school district, so I'd like to take a few minutes of your time tonight to go through the results of that audit. The main reason you ask us to work with the district is to provide an opinion on the financial statements. That opinion is housed within the independent auditor's report. The independent auditor's report also outlines management's responsibilities as well as our responsibilities. And management's responsibilities are for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements in accordance with GAAP. Really what that means is that management determines the numbers that are housed within that financial statement. We are not allowed to do that and provide the opinion, a line drawn in the sand, if you will. So once that is complete, our job starts, which is to obtain reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free of material misstatement. So that is the opinion. Unmodified opinion is the opinion we're providing, not a change from previous years, and it's the highest level that you can receive, meaning we do believe the financial statements are fairly stated in all material respects as of June 30th, 2025. In addition to focusing on the numbers as we go throughout our process, we also conducted our audit in accordance with government auditing standards. That requires us to consider internal controls as we go throughout that process. So a couple of items noted there. We did talk about this with the Finance Committee as well. Common items that arise, lack of segregation of accounting duties, is present, inherently present with the amount of duties that overlap. Very common for districts to have this in some way, shape, or form. And the audit adjustments, that just happens occasionally. If a certain adjustment reaches a certain threshold, we have to document that or report that. The next item is in relation to Minnesota legal compliance. The Office of the State Auditor compiles a number of Minnesota state statutes that we ask a number of questions about. We did not have any findings related to any of that information. And then one final component is in regards to the audit in accordance with uniform guidance. This is what you're more familiar with hearing single audit test work. It is in preliminary form currently because we are awaiting the final compliance supplement issuance. That is not out yet. So once that happens, we will finalize the work we've done. We have, however, conducted the test work based on the draft that's available. So we've tested Title I, Special Education Cluster, and Comprehensive Literacy State Development Grants. And at this point, no findings that we've noted. And then we'll just finalize everything as soon as that compliance supplement is available. With that, we'll dig into the financial analysis. And with general education aid being the largest funding source for you as a school district in the state of Minnesota, we look at the two main components, two main drivers of that calculation, which is the formula allowance and pupil units. And so we start with the formula allowance here, showing where it has been over the last 10 years, what we know currently based on legislature, and focusing on that 2025 line and the 2% increase that was received. Then we have pupil units next, and we begin here with your resident ADMs. So these are only the students living within your district. And for 2025, resident ADMs decreased by 15. And as the grade levels are presented here, the other and kindergarten grade levels increased and the elementary and secondary decreased. Then if you apply the weighting factors that we have at the top of this slide, as well as take into consideration open enrollment, you arrive at total pupil units served. This is what you are paid off of from the state. So the top line is the residents, follows suit with what we just looked at, with the weighting factors applied to it. And then the next two lines are the impact of open enrollment. And for 2025 and 24, essentially, minimal change between the two when it comes to open enrollment impact, which is a loss of about 1,200. And then at the end of the day, total pupil units served decreased by 20. And we also include adjusted ADM. That is the number I think you are familiar with hearing. And so similar presentation, similar change from what we're seeing on the total pupil units served as well, of a decrease of about 16. This slide just shows those ADM factors in a percentage change form, showing the declining enrollment over the 5 years. And then next we look at general fund sources of revenue. Essentially, consistent year in total when you look at general fund revenues compared to the prior year, a change of about 0.1%, but some fluctuations between the components as you see them here. Revenues from state sources did increase. The formula allowance that we touched on is a component of that, as is special education. Revenue from local property taxes increased with an increase in the levy. And then the other category, that is where your federal revenue is classified or included for this chart. And that decreased as a result of the federal funding related to COVID dollars being used up this last year. Here we have revenues per student or per ADM served. This gives us the ability to compare to some state average information, as well as look at current year. So pretty consistent change, or pretty consistent numbers when you look at the previous year, because that revenue stayed pretty consistent, as did the ADM served. And then if you compare to state average information in 2024, we always like to remind that that is average. So there are a few different things that can change the look of one district compared to another when considering this information. And those things can be referendums, special education needs, federal funding that you may have received, compensatory aid. All of those things can fluctuate the results that you're looking at here. So as is in the past, the district is above the state average. And we start with revenues because typically your expenditures are going to follow suit with that and look very similar, which is the story that you are seeing here as well, that expenditures are above state average. And an increase in 2025 as expenditures increased about 2.5% for the year. Here we show general fund expenditures in a pie chart format. Comparison year over year is pretty similar. Special education increasing with the increasing needs of your students, of your kiddos. Regular instruction decreasing slightly as a result, but in total instruction staying the same when you factor in regular instruction, vocational instruction, and special education, all at 62% this year and last year if you combine all three together. District and school administration as well as district support services are the same as last year as well. Here we have a budget to actual snapshot for the general fund. The first two columns show the budget, anticipating a decrease in fund balance. And the actual results are in the third column, showing that fund balance increased 1.2 million. And then we have a variance column there in the far right. If we look at total revenues towards the top there in that far right column, we see total revenues over budget. If we apply a percentage to that, it's 2.3%. And again, if we look at some of the components as they are listed there, we see that state sources is one of the larger ones there. That really has to do with mostly special education aid and kind of the estimates that went into that, and that can be kind of a moving target just based on the needs that you have as well as where the state lands with that particular aid each year. Following the table down, total expenditures and all the way over to that far right column, see under budget there. And if we apply a percentage to that, again, it's 0.7%. So considering the amount of budget that you are working on and being less than 1% within that budget and under budget, great job in that regard. Here we bring the general fund all together. We've touched on a lot of the information on the top already, the revenues, expenditures, as well as the change in fund balance. And here we see where fund balance ended the year at 12.1 million. The components of that fund balance are listed below. Non-spendable are for items where think of it as the dollars have left the building. You can't use them for future operations, so they're separated into their own category. Then there are a number of restricted components that are, you have to spend those dollars in accordance with how you received them. So they're all tracked and separated as well. Those components together cumulatively increased about $994,000 for the year, the ending balances, and then that leaves you with unassigned, and that is the portion of fund balance that is available for future operations without those earmarks or tags as identified above. There are other obligations, obviously, but not associated with the items above. That balance decreased by $118,000 for the year and ended at 8.8 million. That is also the component that you compare your fund balance policy against. Your fund balance policy indicates that you would strive to have a minimum of 9.5% of the annual budgeted expenditures in that unassigned component. If you run the calculations for this year, you're at 18.8%. So you are in compliance with the policy you've established for yourselves. Here's yet another way to look at fund balance, and this is unrestricted fund balance as a percentage of unrestricted expenditures, slightly different than the percentage I just touched on in that this is everything but the restricted components. So those non-spendable items are in here. MDE calculates this. It's a little bit more complicated, so they go through the process. And it does give us the ability to compare to some state average information here as well. So seeing that the district is below the state average and remained consistent in 2025 compared to 24. The last two slides that we have look at your special revenue funds. So food service fund is here. Revenues decreased with a decrease in meals served, and expenditures increased, mostly in the contracts as a result of contract increases as well as equipment purchases. And that's been a pretty common practice across the state with investing in some of the capital needs for this food service fund. At the end of the day, fund balance decreased by $188,000 and ended the year at $1.9 million. Last but not least is the community service fund, seeing activity increasing here on the revenue and expenditure side of things, with an increase in participation in the programs, as well as an increase in grant activity. So at the end of the day here, fund balance increasing and ending at 1.4 million, and all of the components that are included at the bottom there are in a positive state at the end, and for all of the 5 years presented there. So that is great to see as well. Happy to take any questions you might have.
Thank you for the presentation, Ms. Stutzman. Board members, do we have questions on the audit report? Director Boudreau.
Carolyn, thank you for coming, sharing all of the results of the audit.
Absolutely.
Which look like we're doing okay. I wanted to ask if you had any idea about our administrative costs, percentage-wise, for our district. What are we spending? And how does it look compared to our neighbors in our state?
Yes. I do have that jotted down here. And I can go back up. So it's in this one, if you compare to 2024, that district and school administration, the state average for that is 5%. So slightly under what the state average is for that particular component.
$4%?
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it. Yes, thank you.
Any other questions? Director Moore?
Yes, at least I did. We received about 135 pages of budget documents at about 2 minutes to 11 today. I haven't had a chance really to thoroughly go through these. We're talking budget here, which can be complicated. So I guess, are you expecting us to, without really thoroughly looking through this, to approve of this? I mean, I counted about 135 pages of budget documents, including this. I think this is unacceptable, and we should have had it a few days ago, and not this morning at 2 minutes to 11. Good thing I check my email periodically.
Director Moore, we're talking about just the report that we.
Well, the report, and I am saying that
20
we got
pages.
all of these at 2 minutes before 11 today, and now we're expected to oh yeah, we're going to prove this. I'm not going to prove of anything until I've thoroughly looked at it. And so this needed to get out to us before, along with the others. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Director Boudreau.
the audit report was presented at 7:30 this morning by Carolyn Stutzman to the Financial Committee on our Zoom meeting. And the documents for the audit were provided to the Finance Committee. And now it's presented to the full board, which is just for our information. And I think what you're saying is that we are we are doing okay. I mean, we may have some, Barbie's going to talk to us, so I don't need to give an overview of it. Barbie will give us the details of the budget, but Carolyn's report was about the audit. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Any other further discussion regarding the audit report? Director Moore?
Well, maybe I need to be on the Finance Committee, but even then, it was just presented this morning. I really believe that we should have had it a few days ago. Thank you.
Further discussion? Okay, I do see this is a presentation and there's an action item. So is there a motion for approval of the audit report as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Robichaud. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you, Director Steves. Any discussion? Discussion?
Mr. Chair, yes.
Go ahead, Mr.
real
Wolf.
quick, I just want to congratulate Ms. Raisler and the finance team that keeps us in good standing. And as Caroline pointed out, that this is pretty much, I don't want to put words in your mouth. You're smiling, and I think you know where I'm going. You've said that this is about as good of audit review that school districts get. Is that correct?
The highest level of opinion that we can provide.
The highest level. Okay, you said it, I didn't, so thank you. And Bergen KDV audits roughly how many public school districts in Minnesota every year?
Somewhere in the 50 to 75 range. So.
And so, congratulations to you and thank you, and Superintendent Benty. Hopefully you're very proud of the team. I know I am, so thank you.
Yes.
Further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, dittos that we have a financial manager that's doing a great job.
Anyone else? We have a motion for approval of the audit report. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 6-1. Thank you both very much. With flexibility in the agenda, we will now go back to agenda item number 4, items of information. 4A, Student Board Representative, Ms. Amira Williams.
Good evening. In the past few weeks, all winter sports have begun practicing. The fall play has come to a close. Last Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday were the show dates. The play was a whodunit murder mystery where each show night had a different culprit. 4 different endings really shows the hard work and dedication FHS theater troupe took in putting on this production. Looking forward, the week of December 1st, Student Council will be hosting Snow Coming. The week will be filled to the brim with everything from basketball games to dress-up days, snow ambassadors to the Sadie's Dance on the 6th. The goal of the week is to raise money for Toys for Tots. This is Faribault High School's way of giving back to the community. Some National Honor Society students are also giving back by collecting new and slightly used toys to donate this holiday season. Overall, the next month will be filled with much giving and gratefulness at Faribault schools.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. For the report. Items of information 4B, school board members. Director Moore.
Yes, I've got a couple of things here that I'm concerned about regarding the consent agenda. Every month, we get a fairly substantial list of recommendations to hire and extended contracts. We've got, with these tough economic times and budget cuts more prevalent than we'd like, I'd like to propose to this board that we take a hard look at the many, many positions we have hired within the Faribault Public Schools. Until we do that, I'm hesitant to approve all of these contracts every month. I know that this consent agenda will pass, but I believe it is our fiscally responsible duty to look into the numerous positions that are brought forward every month for our approval. We've got to have accountability here, and I don't think we do. I'll talk more about this under item X with the budget. Secondly, I'd like to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's DEI, or EDI, now that it's called that. It's interesting that they keep changing the acronyms and the meaning of these terms. Why do they do that? Because it is confusing to people. I was challenged a while back that DEI or EDI or whatever you want to call it is in our public schools. And it is in our public schools. When I started to respond, I was cut off. And in order for transparency within our schools, the public, that is parents, voters, taxpayers, need to be aware that DEI has come under various grants. For example, the almost $500,000 bipartisan Safer Communities grant that Superintendent Benty signed off on and the school board, a few of us there, approved on December 5th, 2022 explicitly calls for embedding the basic principles and practices of equity, diversity, and inclusion, specifically targeting racial and ethnic communities and LGBTQIA+. And know this, I firmly believe that every student, including gender-diverse students, need to graduate knowing the basics of education. However, one big reason that I question DEI, or whatever you want to call it, is that we don't practice what we preach. In fact, DEI only focuses on certain groups over other groups. And it's right here. This is hypocrisy. DEI, as in this grant, is not inclusive or equitable to certain groups, especially those who believe and adhere to godly principles such as male and female. That violates the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the very act that this grant purports to comply with on page 13. Also, this violates individual First Amendment religious freedom and liberty. For example, this grant states, cultural competency training each year will focus on topics related to working with LGBTQIA+, and that's on page 29. What about cultural competency training for students who adhere to godly principles of male and female? What about their feelings? Could they be offended by all of this? Aren't they just as important? You can't have it both ways. To reiterate, DEI favors some groups over others, and that's not being diverse, equitable, or inclusive. That's discrimination against certain religious beliefs, and that's opening us up to litigation now and in the future, not to mention the federal funds. I think the federal funds are like about 10% of our budget. I've seen estimates of between 3 to 6 million. Is that correct, Mr. Benty? Approximately?
Approximately 9 million.
9 million? Oh, 9 million. It's bigger than I thought. If you want DEI, you cannot favor one group over another. Finally, when we approve of any new grant or program, we need transparency to the parents and to the taxpayers as to what groups of students we focus on and those groups that we don't, and what stipulations or requirements go with these grants. And contrary to what a lot of people think, grant money is not free. It comes off the backs of taxpayers. And, you know, transparency is really truth, and the truth sets us free. And I'm very concerned about this. Thank you.
Other board members, items of information. I want to say, since our last meeting, I attended the Faribault Middle School band concert. What a phenomenal concert and performance, packed gym, a standing room only, standing virtually almost in the doorways. Great presentation by our band directors and students. Also attended the DECA fundraiser yesterday, and like I said previously, how those students present themselves in our community and their work ethic and just drive is very impressive. So thank you for that. And I've also attended, as many of you have as well, other athletic events and activities as well. And I just want to piggyback off Ms. Williams' comments on the school play. I do believe our director, Paul Johnson, wrote that play where he wrote the play and presentation so every night. So extremely talented. We're so happy to have him part of our staff here at Faribault Public Schools. So seeing no further comments, Mr. Benty, Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So our Faribault Middle School 6th grade physical education classes completed a bike safety unit. Students learned how to fit and wear a helmet, signal, stop safely, and even fix a flat tire. Special thank you to the community volunteers who helped make this unit a success. The new Falcon flight plan Path program run by Mr. Kegler, who was here earlier, is giving students a real look at careers. Students have met Officer Brandon Gleam from the Faribault Police Department, Faribault High School alumni and restaurateur Chow Trong of Tin Tea, and fellow FHS alum Delta pilot Tanner Tuzanot. Each shared their journey, the skills needed in their field, and advice for students exploring career paths. We want to thank the State Bank of Faribault for continuing its partnership with Miss Krista Swanson's class. Each year they donate funds so every student can receive a book each month of the school year. Their contributions have provided more than 1,500 books to 167 students, bringing joy and learning to Faribault households. Falcons Beyond students enjoyed a full day of enriching activities. They toured Buckham West Senior Center and connected with the senior community members. They explored programs at the community center and visited Buckham Memorial Library for the first time. A 3D printer demonstration and a special 3D printed dragon to take home. Thank you to all the community partners who made this experience possible. Mrs. Elfsted's class celebrated a fall party. Students explored pumpkins and leaves. They learned about the pumpkin life cycle and participated in Q-tip painting, apple tasting, leaf rubbing, and building activities with styrofoam balls and toothpicks. All of our buildings honored Veterans Day this year. ALC students wrote heartfelt notes to local veterans to thank them for their service. Miss Wells' class brought the Three Little Pigs to life. Students acted out the story with puppets, used felt pieces to retell it, and completed a hands-on STEM building with Legos, sticks, Play-Doh, and cardboard blocks. And finally, Faribault High School Honor Society students gave back to the community by cleaning a stretch of highway. Their efforts helped keep the community looking its best and demonstrated leadership through service. Mr. Chair, one final thing, I misspoke. It is not $9 million, it's $7.5 million. So $7.5 million in federal funds. So I want to correct that for the record. And Mr. Chair, that completes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Benty. Agenda item number 5 is public comment. Ms. Kenny, we have no public comment this evening. Agenda item number 6 is the consent agenda. Consent agenda consists of the minutes from the October 27th, 2025 and November 10th, 2025 meetings, employment, additional assignments and other, authorization of payments, transfers, and investments accounts, and retirements. Is there a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Director Robichaud, second by Director Wolf. There is no discussion. Consent agenda, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 6-1. Agenda item number 7 is the District Advisory Committee. There's no report. Agenda item number 8, Policy Committee. 8A, Policy Committee Minutes Report. Director Steves and Director Moore, as members of the Policy Committee, used to review the Policy Committee minutes.
Sure. So at the November policy meeting, we reviewed, and just for clarity's sake, when we do a review, these are done either on an annual, every other year, or every third year basis. So we reviewed the entirety of the policy for 11 policies. And so they are put forth from that policy meeting by that committee for technically its first reading, but since there were no changes, it will just go right into the books, I think. And then, yeah, significant discussion on a couple of them, but for the most part, all agreed.
Anything to add, Director Moore?
Yes, I did have some problems with some of the policies, and I put forth some amendments.
I have those, and I'll get to them when we get to agenda item 8B.
Okay, thank you.
So moving on now to agenda 8B, first reading of policies. I've been requested by Director Moore to pull the following policies for further discussion and vote. 8B1, review of policy 401, pull that. 8B7, review of policy 410, family and medical leave policy. excuse me. 8B9, review of policy 417, chemical use and abuse. And 8B10, review of policy 420, students and employees with sexually transmitted infections and diseases and certain other communicable diseases and infectious conditions. So, for our first reading of policies, is there a motion for approval of policies 402, 403, 404, 404.1, 408, 415, and 423? And I did not read the explanations, but they are in board book. Is there a motion for approval of those policies?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Robichaud. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Director Boudreau. Any discussion on those policies?
Again, to reiterate, there were no changes.
So after the first reading, this vote, we'll just review, they'll go right into.
Would you like me to explain that one more time,
Yes,
Mr.
let's
Chair?
explain
So
that again, please.
when policies come up for review, there's no need for them to go to a second reading because they've already been approved by this board. If there are no changes to them and they make it through the policy committee with no changes, it's just the board accepting them to say, yes, we're going to continue with the policy on our books the way that we have already accepted it. So there's no need for a second reading.
Thank you, Mr. Venti. Discussion? Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We'll now move to policy 401, equal employment opportunity. Is there a motion for approval of the review of policy 401, equal employment opportunity?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Steves. There's second.
Second.
Thank you, Director Robichaud. And discussion. Director Moore, do you wish to go ahead?
Yes, for policy 401.
Before you begin, could I just say, so, board members, Director Moore did send the information to me about 2:55 this afternoon, and I forwarded that to you about 3:15 via the email. So I know you didn't have much, if any, time to review these, but those things, but I want to state that. So Director Moore, go ahead in your discussion, please.
Yes, for policy 401, we're looking at 2.A. I am proposing an amendment it talks about sexual orientation, including gender identity or expression. My amendments are to delete the words including gender identity or expression and add the words as defined by male and female.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last comment. As defined by what?
Male and female.
Thank you.
So, again, Director Moore, would you put that in proper thing, saying, I move to
Yes.
amend?
I move to amend policy 401. It's 2.A. And it's on, look on the policy, excuse me. Yeah, it's on the first page. It's 2A, and it's it's a paragraph. It's probably 4 lines down. It talks about sexual orientation, including gender identity or expression. And I'm amending that. I would like an amendment to delete the words including gender identity or expression and add the words as defined by male and female.
Thank you. Is there a second to the motion to amend? Is there a second to the motion to amend?
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question? I don't have a second, but I have a question that I'd like to direct to Superintendent Benty. So whether that's now or after this motion.
I think we do it after the motion.
Okay, thank you.
Last call for, is there a second to the motion to amend? Hearing none, the motion fails due to lack of a second. Continuing discussion, now I will go to you now, Director Wolf.
Thank you. My question is, Mr. Benty, and maybe you can or maybe you can't answer this, but when I look at the policy committee minutes, this policy 401 is a mandatory policy.
That is correct.
And when I look at the actual policy itself, there are 7 legal references and 3 cross-references. And so what would happen if this board voted down a mandatory policy? Whether we
Are you
agree
talking
with
about
it.
the specific case that was asked here, or just in general?
Well, I think either or. I mean, when they're mandatory, I 100% respect Director Moore's, thoughts and amendment and all that. But when it's mandatory, in my mind, mandatory doesn't give us a wide range of options, whether we agree personally or disagree. And so if this board voted this down, and there's 7 legal references and 3 cross-references, what does that do to our school district?
So that would open us up for, first of all, if we vote it down, we have to replace it with something else, because we're required by law to have some type of equal employment opportunity policy on our books. That's what the mandatory piece means. What MSBA provides is they run it through their attorneys. It's set up with the cases and the cross-references and all of that. That is a service that they provide for us. So if the board were to vote this down, then you would have to come up with another one, most likely. If I had broke out my crystal ball, you'd ask me to reach out to our attorneys, and they would send this exact same one back to you. So,
Thank you.
Further discussion? Director Moore?
I guess when we talked about what would open us up to litigation, well, it could open us up to litigation anyway. I think federal and state seem to conflict here. Because Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 states that no one can violate a person's religious or creed. And that's a First Amendment right. So I think we're opening ourselves up to litigation either way. So, and also Policy 401 also states it's unlawful to discriminate on the basis of creed or religion. And that's what we're doing right now. So we're actually, I believe we're violating our
Can I just ask a clarifying?
One minute, Director Sees. Ms. Director Moore, would you pull your microphone to you?
I'm sorry.
Been indicated that, and pull it
Okay.
down a bit. It's been indicated we're not here.
Okay, sorry.
Director Steves.
Thank you. So, clarifying question, how in your opinion are we discriminating against someone's creed or religion status? I guess in my opinion, the purpose and the practice of this policy and our school district is to provide equal employment opportunity for all applicants and employees, whether they look like me or don't look like me, or I can read it: race, color, creed, national origin, religion, sex, marital status, status with regards to public assistance, disability, sexual orientation, gender identity, family care, leave status, veteran status.
I agree that we should not discriminate, yes. But my problem is with the wording of how we define sexual orientation. And if we define it in the way that it is here, we are violating some people's right, the religious belief or system, that they feel that sexual orientation is male or female. We can't do that, and so we are, and it's also First Amendment right, somebody's religious beliefs. So it's in the wording of the, I believe, I do, first of all, like I said, to reiterate, we cannot discriminate against anyone, but the wording of this, when we talk about sexual orientation, can be offensive to some people. And this is open, in religion is a First Amendment right. And so we have to realize that. So.
I guess maybe we can take this conversation offline. I guess I'm still conflicted as to how having a statement of policy that includes everyone, whether it aligns with my beliefs or not. I guess I know that my race, sexual orientation, my marital status, all of these things are my rights as a U.S. citizen under the First Amendment. And in my understanding, and I apologize for getting into the weeds here, my understanding of the Constitution is within reason that those are my rights, and is welcome to disagree on, again, sexual orientation or marital status or all of these various things, but I'm allowed to live my life just like you're allowed to live your life. And as long as we're not, physically hurting each other, we're allowed to live our lives. So I'm fully supportive of this. I know it's a mandatory policy. I want to reiterate to all of our employees that are currently employed or prospective, we provide equal opportunity for everyone.
Mr. Chairman,
Director Woodrow.
I would just like to reiterate that this policy is about our school district and that we provide equal opportunity for all applicants and all people who work here. Whether we agree with the Human Rights Act, the Minnesota Human Rights Act, or not, doesn't change the fact that the district is required to adhere to it. I personally don't like the fact that our Human Rights Act clashes with our Title IX and some other things. And I think if members here, we have no option but to do what the law says. If we don't like it, we can vote no. But if we kill this, we're bound legally. So, it's kind of a catch-22 for some people. But I believe that it is the school district's responsibility to adhere to the laws, and this is a law, whether we like it or not.
Director Robichaud.
Thank you, Chair. As I read this policy, I do not see where it explicitly interferes with anybody's constitutional right, be that the First Amendment or any of the amendments. It really is encompassing all individuals, irrespective of what their beliefs are, but they're entitled to protection under this policy as we employ them. So I do not see it explicitly violating anybody's constitutional rights when it comes to the First Amendment. The other comment I want to make is, I don't know any of us that have a law degree, so interpreting something legally is not the role of this board. That's why we have her, hire legal attorneys to take a look at that. So I don't feel that this policy in any way violates anybody's constitutional rights.
Thank you, Director Robichaud. So, Superintendent Benty, if you just for a reminder, as piggybacking off Director Wolf's question or comments, when I read the legal references here, I do believe that this policy is a federal and state law. Would that be correct?
Yes, so it is a state law under the Minnesota Human Rights Act, and actually the protections of sex have been extended to gender identity through a 2020 Supreme Court case at the federal level as well. So this would, this protections are under state and federal law at this point.
Thank you. Further discussion? Director Moore.
Okay, Ms. Bedreau, you mentioned the state law, but also Title IX. Doesn't this conflict with Title IX? I guess, one way to just to eliminate this, just why can't we say we don't discriminate against anyone instead of parsing it out as sexual orientation, which is offensive to someone, a few people. Just eliminate that and just simply say that, we do not discriminate against anyone. And as I believe it's violating Title IX, and so it looks like whoever decides not to go along with this amendment really is going along with the Minnesota state law, and I guess I'm going along with the Title IX law, which is a federal law, and federal law does supersede state law. So I guess we have a dilemma here.
Last call for discussion. Anyone? We're ready to vote. We have a motion for approval of review of policy 401, equal employment opportunity. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
Motion passes 5-2. We'll now move on to 8B7, review of policy 410, family and medical leave policy. Is there a motion for approval of the review of policy 410, family and medical leave policy?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Robichaud, second by Director Wolf. And discussion. Director Moore, I'll turn this over to you as well.
Yes, on policy 410, I'm proposing an amendment. It's 3.I. It's the last part of the sentence.
So let's just start off by saying,
I'm
I
sorry.
move to amend.
I move to amend.
Thank you.
I move to amend 3.I. Last part of the last sentence. The amendment is to remove the last part of the sentence from this paragraph in defining marriage, starting with the definition includes an individual. Well, I'd like to remove that last part, and I guess for the same reasons.
We have a motion to amend policy 410. Is there a second to the motion? Is there a second to the motion? Is there a second to the motion? Hearing none, the motion to amend dies due to lack of a second. So we're back to our original motion of review of policy 410, approval of that family and medical leave policy. Second call for discussion. Again, Mr. Venti, I believe this is a mandatory policy with federal and state laws tied to it as well, correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Director Moore?
Instead of going through this whole thing again, it's basically the same argument. I believe federal law conflicts with state law. So thank you.
Would you state that again, please?
I believe the federal law is in conflict with the state law. And it's basically the same argument I had for policy 401. So in order to save time, I just think we should.
Superintendent Venti, would you clarify that? I'm
Yeah,
a little
if the
confused.
concern is around same-sex marriage, that is protected at both the federal and the state level.
Okay.
So, yeah, so same-sex marriage, just so everybody knows, is protected at federal level and at state level.
What federal? What is the federal?
The Supreme Court of the United States.
If that would change, would we have to change this then?
If that were to change, then it would cause a cascade effect, just like every federal law that would change, would cause a cascade effect down to the state level and the local level.
Correct. And federal law does supersede state law. What I understand.
Yes, from all my years of teaching civics, federal law supersedes state law and local law, so.
Thank you.
Last call for discussion on motion to approve policy 410. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to approve policy 410, family and medical leave policy, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 6-1. We'll now go down to agenda item 8B9, review of policy 417, chemical use and abuse. Is there a motion for review of policy 417, chemical use and abuse? Motion to approve the policy 417, chemical use and abuse.
So moved.
Thank you, Director Steves. The chair will second that. And discussion. Director Moore, you asked me to pull this one, and you have a comment.
Yes. I'm concerned about, under its Roman numeral 4.f. When it talks about any minor may give effective consent for medical, mental, and other health services to determine the presence of or to treat conditions associated with alcohol or other drug abuse, and the consent of no other person is required. That's on page 417. 417. Page 4 of policy 417. In a memo earlier this month, I did ask the questions. I said, clinics are denying parents access to records as young as 12. And I said, is that happening and are we compliant? And Mr. Benti, you did answer. You said there's no blanket age 12 rule in statute. Some clinics use adolescent confidentiality practices around age 12, consistent with clinical guidelines. But legally, the type of service and consent pathway determines parental access. The rule above is what health finders, and we do have health finders, and school-based clinics in Minnesota must follow. So nothing in Minnesota statute, from my understanding, is but within adolescent confidentiality practices, children as young as age 12 can consent for medical, mental, and other health services for treatment of alcohol and drug abuse without parental knowledge or consent. I believe this is a blatant tactic to take away parental responsibility and rights. So I'm very concerned about that. So that's my comment on that.
Second call for discussion on the review of policy 417. Last call for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion for approval of policy 417, chemical use and abuse, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 6-1. I will move to 8B10, review of policy 420, students and employees with sexually transmitted infections and diseases and certain other communicable diseases and infectious conditions. Is there a motion for approval of the review of policy 420 as I just read?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Robichaux. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you, Director Steves. And discussion? Once again, Director Moore, you asked me to pull this one.
Yes, thank you. I have concerns about Roman numeral 2.I.10. So the program must be consistent with the health and wellness curriculum. I did ask, and I don't believe I received an answer, does this include partnering with health finders? And we do partner with health finders, and I'm very concerned about the age 12 criterion for not allowing parental access on certain issues. I also asked, does this include the WISC program? And I think there's 10 modes, or whatever they call them now, in the WISC program. Whole school, whole child, it's whole school, whole community, whole child. It's called WISC. And one of the modes is sexual health. And I think in the state of Minnesota, students can probably, I think they can have, I'm very concerned about some of the things with the sexual health. And including maybe abortions without parental consent, I don't know. But I did ask for more clarification on that, and I need to look into this further. So, and I'd like more clarification on that, please. Thank you.
Second call for discussion on review of policy 420. Last call.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Director Boudreau.
I would just like to state Minnesota law has been in place for a while. Individuals age 12 and older can obtain a prescription for birth control without parental permission. I know that is a separate issue, but this has been in statute and it's carrying down into other areas. So it is a state statute, not about this topic, but 12 and older.
Last call for discussion on policy 420.
Yes.
Director Moore?
I believe this is a concerted effort on some to take away parental responsibility and parental rights, and just common sense as a 12-year-old. Think about it. And I think it's time we stood up to the bully. And I don't believe, I think if we go along with it, we're complicit in this. 12-year-olds. Thank you.
Hearing no further discussion, we're ready to vote. All in favor of the motion for approval of policy 420 signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 6-1. 8C, Second reading of revisions to policy 625, use and reproduction of copyrighted materials. It was previously policy 803.4. Is there a motion for approval of revisions to policy 625?
So move.
Thank you, Director Boudreau. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Steves. Discussion? Discussion? Let's call for discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item 9. 9A is the Finance Committee. I have that report. Hot off the press, literally, from the meeting this morning, November 24th at 7:30 a.m. Here's what was presented at the Finance Committee. First of all, the financial performance, the results of the fiscal year 24-25 audit was presented by Carolyn Stutzman. After that, we discussed also our October student counts. Our October student counts, we changed to an ADM factor, average daily membership. Instead of student count, the average of 3,061 students. But final ADM is expected to be above what we budgeted for the year. Our October investment financial report, we decreased our investments. 3 CDs matured, and we had an investment that matured. We used those funds for October expenses. Our October comparative financial report, HVAC shows zero balance due to rebates and timing. Water is running about the same. Electric a bit higher at this time than last year, but expenses are higher overall year to date. In our self-insurance, our revenues are exceeding expenditures. There has been a decrease in medical claims as compared to this time last year. October analytics, we're still using the 2026 adopted budget. We're on target for our expenditures and revenues. And we've used about 24% of our budget for expenditures. Revenues as of October, we received about 17% of the budget. In our multi-year presentation, 22% of our budget has been spent compared to 24% in fiscal year 25 and 23% in fiscal year 24. In financial strategies, the Finance Committee approved the revised budget. We're going to be going over that in a few minutes. And then lastly, the Finance Committee also approved the approval of the Pay 26 property tax levy, which will be presented next Monday, December 1st at our Truth and Taxation meeting with the board meeting. That is a report from the Finance Committee. Director Boudreau or Director Wolf, anything to add there?
Mr. Chair, may I just
Director
ask
Moore,
a
question?
couple questions? Yeah. I notice it's not, the pages aren't numbered on page 3. Faribault Middle School appears that we lost 16 students, but we've gained 36 at the high school. I'm not sure why, but that'd be a good reason to know why. But in Roosevelt, we lost, what was it, 68? Is that correct? Am I reading this right?
No. Ms. Raisler, if you'd come up, please, and answer those questions.
Yes, I've got a few questions. Thank you. I think it's on page.
Yeah. So as stated earlier, we have switched to an ADM count, which means that rather than taking a look at all the students that attend, we're looking at students that we get aid for or some type of payment. And so that's why you're seeing a decrease in Roosevelt. Last month, we were just looking at, here's all the kids that are in the building. This month, we're looking at how many kids do we get paid for? Or, is there funding for, how many kids is there funding for? And so it's not a one-to-one when you're talking about voluntary pre-K.
Could we show both numbers
Sure.
from now on? Because then it's
Sure.
less confusing.
Absolutely.
Because
Yep.
I think that would be good. Also, I know the electric bill was up. Is that, Mr. Chair might have mentioned that? Was that because of the rates?
No, it's just, last year, we were still receiving rebates at this time,
Okay.
and so
that's
now
why.
we're not.
Okay. And I noticed our ending balance we've lost a little bit of money from on page 5. The ending balance in 9/30 was 25.5 million. And now it's about 23.7.
Yep,
Why
and
was that down?
Yep, it's down because 3 CDs matured.
Okay.
And then we also had an investment that also matured. And then we used those dollars to replenish our cash rather
Okay.
than reinvest. But we are continuing to reinvest at a steady rate.
Okay. And just one more question on page 7. I'm not a budget person, I'm sociology. At the bottom of page 7, it says remaining balance, that means, it's on page 7.
Mhm.
It's expense revenue summary.
Yep.
Period ending October 31st. It's in parentheses. Does that mean that we're 1.9? We're going to have to.
No. Yeah, so so in accounting, an expenditure is a debit and a revenue is a credit.
Yep.
And so we're showing the revenue as a credit in red. And so basically what we're saying is we have 66 million left to receive in our revenues.
Where do you see that?
The line right above where you're looking at the 1.9 million.
Oh, 66, okay, I see
Yep,
that, right.
Yep, so that's what we expect to receive yet in revenues.
We expect to receive it, we haven't received it.
Correct.
Received it. That's why
Correct.
it's in parentheses. Okay.
Correct, yes.
Thank you. We'll move on to agenda item 10, 10A, gifts and donations, resolution 26.05. Our donations this month are, one, the Faribault Booster Club donated $499.50 for the National Honor Society t-shirts. The Faribault Wrestling Club donated $900 for the 8th grade park and pool field trip. And Michelle Palmquist donated $1,400 to the Nest to provide high-quality tennis shoes for students in need.
Mr. Chair, I think that's Michael.
Michael, I'm sorry, I said Michelle. Michael, thank you. My apologies, everyone. Is there a motion for approval of Resolution 26-05, gifts and donations as I read?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Wolf. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Steves. Any discussion?
Just a huge thank you to our generous community for supporting our students.
Yes.
Everybody's nodding their head. Discussion? Director Steves, this is a roll call. Would you do the roll call, please?
Linda Boudreau.
Aye.
Candace Knutson.
Aye.
Linda Moore.
Aye.
Jerry Robichaud.
Aye.
Cassie Steves. Aye. Chad Wolf.
Aye.
John Bellingham.
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you. We'll move on to agenda item 10B. I'll ask Ms. Raisler to come back up again here. Revised fiscal year 26 budget presentation. Is there a motion for approval of the revised fiscal year 26 budget presentation?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Boudreau. And is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Knutson. And so for that discussion, I will begin. I will turn it over to Ms. Raisler.
So I would just jump in real quick. So this is an unusual piece for us to do a budget revision this early in the year. What we looked at, I asked Ms. Raisler to do this based off of with the STEM school closing down and us having more students join, and we needed to hire more in August to accommodate that. And then, of course, realizing you're going to hear about our October 1 counts versus what our September 1 counts was. So it just made sense to me to have a much more transparent picture of where we are financially now, so that as we move into setting our budget in February and March for the following school year, we at least have an idea that we don't hopefully have to go through this part again. We've got a revised budget that we will work off of. So,
Thank you, Mr. Benty. So this presentation, as Mr. Benty just discussed, is really going to focus on what our student count looks like and then what our staffing looks like. So those were the two main areas of focus for this revision. The first few pages are just our standard listing of our administrative staff, et cetera. So I just want to jump right to page 4, where we talk about some of the budget highlights. So when looking at our average daily membership, and again, that's what we get funding on, is our average daily membership, and then a weighting factor is put on that, a pupil unit weighting factor. In the early start, actually even before school started, we were seeing very high numbers of enrollments, especially in our middle school, but really in our elementaries and the middle school. And so at that time, we had to make some reaction steps to how do we accommodate all these students that we feel are going to be coming into our school. So we did. We reacted. We hired different staff. We took a long look before just, knee-jerk reaction hiring staff. But we did know that we were going to have to accommodate more students than what we had originally planned for back in June. Yes, we did know that the STEM school was obviously closing, and yes, I had done some projections of increasing, but my projections were not high enough. That is part of conservative budgeting, and that is also part of not having a crystal ball. So, when we are looking then at the ADM count that I used for this revised budget, I used our October 1 count, which was the end of September. And if you may remember, our ADM data that we had at that time was 3,086 students, and that is what was reported during the October Finance Committee meeting, talking about our September numbers. So using 3,086, that actually was an increase of almost 30 students. It was an increase of 29 students from the 3,057 that I had used in June, looking at our enrollment projections. Because of those 29 students then, we see an increase of roughly $330,000, and that is for the basic gen ed formula itself. So just having those additional students will raise our revenue by that amount. The other component that happened during the summer is that we did get to recognize, it did come to fruition that we did gain an additional $400,000 in our compensatory. You may remember the conversation that we had when we were looking at our adopted budget back in May and June when we were talking about it. We thought that we were going to get at least $7.2 million in compensatory. The state did a recalculation. Some districts were winners, some districts were losers, meaning some got more than what they anticipated, some got less than what they anticipated, and we came out ahead. So we had an additional almost $400,000 then that came in revenue in the form of compensatory. So that's what you're seeing on this page then, is that increase. We also saw increase to some other categoricals that I chose not to list because I could list an entire page of what those are, and I know that we just kind of wanted to get to the heart of where are we? What are we really looking at for a net effect? Because of those increases in students and where we thought we were going to be with what we had for information and enrollment, we did increase our staff count. And we also went through negotiations. So when I was able to put this revised together, I was able to have a little bit better prediction of what those settlements will be, because when I do this adopted budget, again, that's, I'm working in March, April, May, June, trying to figure out what it might look like for a settlement for our bargaining groups. And so for those that had already been approved and settled, I was able to include some of those dollars. So what you're seeing for an increase in expenditure is $824,850. And again, that's for additional staff and also bumping up the amount that we actually settled for. Please keep in mind that when I talk these numbers, I'm comparing it to the adopted. So we had already made some predictions. We'd already assumed that our amounts would be higher than what they were in FY25. This is in addition to those projections as well. So I just want to make that clear, everyone understands. So as you heard tonight, our fund balance actually ended better than what I had anticipated when we adopted the FY26 budget. I had thought we would end FY25 with about a 10.6 fund balance, and we're ending it with a 14% fund balance. And this is really confusing, and I understand. You heard two different numbers from Caroline, and now you're hearing a third from me. So the numbers that Caroline used were to take basically all of the expenditures that we have and compare that to the amount that we have in the unassigned fund balance, and that gives us about 18%. The state has a different type of calculation that they use, taking different factors into account and subtracting some of the expenditures, and so they come up with 19.7%, and that's the SOD calculation. When I take a look at it, I follow our policy kind of to the T, and what we're supposed, and how we have recognized what we want for a minimum is to take our expenditures, less our LTFM expenditures, less the student activities. And so that's how I come up with the 14%. Still quite a bit above our 9.5% minimum. So that's how we're starting the year, which is great news.
Yes.
The other budget areas that we had the opportunity to revise then included food service. So we have a little bit better understanding of where we are with our food service revenue. And we are continuing to try to spend down our food service balance because we are still far above what the state is recommending for a minimum. So for fiscal year 26, they are still going with the 6-month reserve is what that's the limit that they want to see, and we are well beyond that. So we're trying to spend money in areas that are allowed for food service, and as we know, our hands are slightly tied with that. So, but we're purposefully looking at where we can improve and what we can do. And again, the McKinley remodel of the kitchen, that will certainly take a lion's share of those dollars. So that will be of help to us. I did adjust community education just slightly, and that's due to grant activity that we have coming on or grant activity that fell off, as well as, just knowing where we are today, being able to update some of those figures. The next fund that we always take a look at is our building or construction fund. And again, those expenditures are going to far outweigh the revenues because we received all the revenue in fiscal year 24, and now we just spend it down until there's nothing, till we're done with all of our construction. HVAC is the driver there, till we're done with those enhancements, updates. Our debt service, internal and irrevocable, those funds didn't change, and they normally don't. The next page then is just that graph of what our student count looks like. And so you're used to seeing, like a 8-10 year trend of where we've been. So again, starting in fiscal year 21, we were at 3,300 students. And as you can see, we are going down in enrollment. So in fiscal year 25, we actually had 3,029 was what we used for a number. That data is not yet final, but we're looking to end at 3,044, which is great. I had originally then projected 3,057 ADM for this fiscal year. And again, our count as of October 1 was 3,086. So there's our increase of those 29 kids. I'm still anticipating that we are going to go down in enrollment as the years go on, unless, we have a way to, welcome back some of those families that are going elsewhere, as you saw from the open enrollment net effect that we have. So the next page, shows what was the proposed budget for FY26. So I'm taking you back to June. So this is what we looked at in June when you approved the adopted budget. And at that time, what we were looking at was, if you look at the second column from the right, end of year projected balance, there's that 10.5 forward, about 10.6 that I was talking about, where I thought we would end the year. But instead, we ended it with a 14% fund balance. So this is the fund balance that you had approved at the June board meeting. So on page 6, you're seeing the general fund broken out by the unassigned and then all of our restricted areas as well as our non-spendable. And then page 7 talks about the other funds, so our food service, community services, construction, etc. So the ending result of that, if we could just bring that page up just a little bit, the ending result of that shows that we had a deficit spend of 4.435. That's what we had, thank you so much. That's what we had intended we would end FY26 with. Again, that the lion's share of that is coming from the construction fund with about $2.5 million there that we're going to deficit spend. We then fast forward to today. And so what we're looking at today for our general fund is we're starting with our new balance. We're starting with our 14% in the fund balance, updated revenues and expenditures, spending down some of our reserves so that we're freeing up dollars in the unassigned. And so today, I'm anticipating that we'll end our year with approximately 10.84% in our unassigned fund balance, again, well above our 9.5% minimum. You will see then all of our restricted areas, those, as Caroline explained, that the revenue comes in for a specific purpose and we can only spend on a specific purpose. We don't get to choose how to spend those dollars. So then our general fund does have expenditures exceeding revenues by 1.45. If you look at the next page then, this then describes all of the additional funds that we have and includes additions to expenditures for our food service. We're seeing the same amount for our construction fund. And then at the end, what we are anticipating is that overall, all the funds that we have, we will see expenditures exceed revenues by about $4.4 million. The last page then gives an example of what would happen in the next 3 years if we did nothing. So, the actuals for fiscal year 25, that is audited. That is what was acknowledged tonight, is that we have a 14% fund balance, which is 4.5% above our minimum. The projection for FY26 is that in our general fund, our expenditures will exceed our revenues by 1.45 million, leaving us approximately 1.34% above our minimum. As we look then on to the projection for fiscal year 27 and 28, please keep in mind that I'm projecting that we're probably going to continue to lose students. And I've also conservatively projected a 2% increase in the funding formula. And I've also did not do an increase to compensatory as the state continues to decide how compensatory will be calculated. And that's a big deal for us. That's $7.6 million this year. So that takes into consideration a lot of different factors. So again, this is the prediction of what we would look like if we did nothing. If we saw that our students' enrollment declined and yet we did nothing with staffing or nothing with programs or what it might be. So again, this is just to give you a long-range picture of what could come.
Thank you, Ms. Raisler, very much. Board members, a reminder that we do have a motion and a second for approval of the revised fiscal year 26 budget. Discussion or questions? Director Wolf.
Mr. Chair, Ms. Raisler, on this page right here, and I didn't ask it this morning, so my apologies. But I see the actual of 2025, and so I guess it would be like the third line of numbers, 1.224 million. That was the increase, right? So then
Yes.
that gets us to a 14% unassigned fund balance.
Yep.
Then if we move over to the second line of numbers, projected 2026, if we deficit spend that 1.454 million, or if you go down one line, it says then our unassigned balance would be down to 10.84%.
Correct.
So now this next one is where I'm really confused, to be honest with you. The projected 2027, if we deficit spend 1.6 million, I think that year, right? How do we only then drop by about 0.6% when the year before, in this year, 2026, we deficit spend less, but we go down, almost 3.16%? Does that, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do see what you're saying, yes, and I do believe that's an error.
Okay,
I can correct that and bring that back to the board.
okay, thank you. Something just wasn't tying out
Yep,
there.
you're absolutely correct, and I
Thank you.
apologize for overlooking that.
And again, to reiterate on this last slide, this is projecting the revenue with declining enrollment, but not reducing expenses as we traditionally have every year
Correct.
that our accounts are up or down.
Absolutely correct, yeah. It's if we would do nothing, what does this look like?
Director Robichaud.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Just the question on increase on page 4, that 824,000, does that include the contracts that we're approving tonight?
No,
Does not, okay.
no, it does not approve that. So it does not approve the actual. I have
But you did project,
projections,
okay.
I have projections already in there. So it won't be the full dollar amount that was. So yes, so there are projections in there. It doesn't include the actual of what you would be approving tonight.
Fine. It's a projection anyway, so thank you.
Yes.
Discussion. Director Moore.
Yes, on page 8, I think I've asked this before, the restricted 448 achievement integration revenue, we're partnering with other schools, correct? I think it's
Yes.
Wanamago, WEM, right?
Yes, yep.
And Northfield and also Tri-State?
Yes.
And those three, okay. And I'm just going to comment here. About 11 o'clock today, I received 135 pages of this budget documents. And I don't really care what the reason was, but I think that's unacceptable. And I think we need to have more time to look through it.
Oh, Director Moore, will you please pull down your microphone?
Yes.
They're unable to hear the recording there.
Okay. Where should I start? From the beginning?
Probably back up a little bit. Yeah, thank you.
There, okay. 135 pages I received of the budget documents 2 minutes before 11 today. I don't know, I don't care what the reason is, but that is unacceptable. And I think to be responsible, we need this ahead of time. It's not like reading a little novel. It's like you have to go through it, and I didn't feel I had enough time. And I believe that's unacceptable. One of the things, too, just the format of the budget. I know I've talked to you about this before. I would really like to see in a budget, a really detailed budget, like a list of the programs, the positions hired, the salaries, and and the accountability. You can't show the accountability because I don't know if we're even looking at accountability. But I think you said you could do that.
Yep.
And I think I'm asking right now if you could do that for us. I'd like to see the programs, the positions hired, probably since COVID, as salaries, and I don't think you have the accountability, but, and I really don't want to see, because, graduation stats or attendance rates in this, and that's not within the budget, but, so the budget doesn't really show accountability. But I would like to see that. And I've talked to you about that before, and you say, from what I'm understanding, it didn't seem it was that difficult of a task.
It is not hard to present that data. What's difficult is to decipher the data, because there is so much data. We have over 5,000 account codes that have to be
really?
budgeted. Yes.
And
so
do you know how many programs we've, with positions hired since COVID, approximately?
I would not know that off the top
Because
of my head.
I think that would be, really good. And I think regarding this budget too, like I said, I've repeatedly asked for this verbally. I can do this on paper if you need to. But I would like to see the programs we've implemented from the monies from the state and federal government, especially via grants.
That would be every program.
The big
state
grants.
sources.
So how many grants have we taken in?
We currently have 42 grants.
42 grants, how much money is that?
It would be
approximately?
hard for me to say off the top of my head. I'm going to go with an estimate of about 4 to 5 million.
4 to 5 million. This is coming off the taxpayers. Because,
So is
yes.
state resources, yes.
Yes.
State aid
Taxpayers-
comes off the taxpayers as well.
Right.
So do property taxes, yes.
And I'd really like to see the state and federal and local as well. And, don't get me wrong, grants can be beneficial, but it depends. And I had a constituent ask me today, and I don't know the answer, like a few years ago, the Chamber of Commerce had asked the schools, I think in the county and the city, a 5-year commitment, it would be $100,000. And that person said, where did the money go? Are we spending it, whether directly or indirectly? And so I think we need more of a detailed budget instead of, and I don't know what that kind of budget that's called, but I think for transparency,
So
we
what you're
need some.
asking for is more of a managerial budget than
Is
a
that what it's
governance
called?
budget.
Oh, yeah. And because I think we need to be accountable to some of these things. And so I'd like somehow, if you could do that, 5 million, you said 5 million in grants?
That's my rough guesstimate.
That's a lot of taxpayer money. And I know people are getting very upset about their taxes in all the cities, Otana, I know, Faribault. So, and I'm not sure how to answer some of the taxpayers and voters. So, thank you.
Director Robichaud.
Thank you. With all due respect to Director Moore, this is a revised budget from your presentation back in June, which I think was more detailed at that time than what this is. We're just saying here are some highlights of revisions based on enrollment, because we weren't sure how many were coming from the STEM school.
Correct.
We weren't sure how much, we did know how much we were getting from the state, but we didn't know about the compensatory at that time. So this is not a detailed budget in the standpoint of what you presented in June,
Correct.
which was far more detailed. This is basically saying, we projected X number of dollars. With all this new information, we're projecting X plus. So, thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
Director Wolf.
Mr. Chair, all due respect, Director Moore, but the revised budget that I'm looking at is 10 pages, not 100 and some. Are you looking at something different than I'm looking at?
This was with the audit, and this was with.
Yeah, but this is the budget,
This was what, okay.
right? That's totally different than what she's
All
presenting
right.
here.
But,
And then real quick, I'm sorry.
okay,
In all due respect, with regards to the grants being from the taxpayers, Ms. Raisler, you correct me if I'm wrong, or Superintendent Benti, you correct me if I'm wrong. Every dollar other than a donation that we get from somebody is from the taxpayer, whether that's a grant, whether that's the local level, the state level, or the federal level.
You
Am
are
I correct?
That is,
Yes.
you are
Thank you.
correct.
Mr. Chair, and I think
Director Moore.
the taxpayers need to be aware of that. And then also, just the detail, we said the detailed budget in June, but it didn't have the details that I was looking for. So just for clarification.
Last call for discussion on the motion to approve the revised fiscal year 26 budget. Hearing none. For the motion for approval, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 6-1. We've already acted on agenda item 10C, the audit report. We'll now move to 10D, consider approving the change. Thank you very much, Ms. Raisler, by the way. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Consider approving the changes to the employment agreements for 2025 through 2027. Ms. Nicole Yoakum, Human Resources Director, if you want to come forward in case there are questions here. Is there a motion for approval of the changes to the employment agreements for 2025 through 2027?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Robichaud. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Director Boudreau. And discussion?
Mr. Chair, if I may start.
Thank you. Go ahead, Superintendent Benty.
I just want to say how proud I am of our negotiations team on the district side. They have worked incredibly hard to get these negotiations done so that all of our people can have their pay by the end of this year, and it won't impact their taxes moving forward for the following year. That's a big deal in some of theirs. And not only that, but in the fact that they were able to do all of these negotiations and come within the board set parameters. So I just wish to thank them publicly for the work that they've done to not only do a great job, but also come in within the parameters that this board set. So thank you.
Very good. I will preface this also by saying, as we get into discussion shall be germane to the motion for approval of these employment agreements as listed. These employment agreements with the community education directors and coordinators, cabinet, and the principals, technicians, IT technicians, et cetera, on salary schedule or salary improvement, health insurance, 403B match, all discussion will be germane to what's listed here in the memorandum as proposed by Ms. Yoakum. Discussion. Director Moore.
So I noticed we have 185 community ed, 31 directors and coordinators, 5 cabinet, 8 principals and 6 technicians. So these are administrative positions, I'm thinking. I just have to say, I have to ask, has any of these positions increased our achievement statistics?
Director Moore, I'm going to strike that as that is not
Okay.
germane to the motion for approval of salary schedule as listed.
One more comment, which is probably not
Director
germane.
Moore?
If we were in the private sector, what would happen? Would we want to give everyone a raise?
Director Moore, once again, comments should be directed as germane to the motion for approval of the employment agreements. Further discussion? I would like to also thank the Ms. Yoakum and the negotiations team for their work there, but this is also in alignment with the budget and discussions we as a board have had regarding the parameters of our budget and our expenditures with salary and employment here. So, very good work, and we do appreciate that. Last call for discussion. Hearing none. All in favor of the motion for considering approval, approving the changes to the employment agreements for 2025 through 2027, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 6-1. Moving on here, I'm going to add just a 10E. I'm going to ask for a point of personal privilege and the fact that in our consent agenda, we approved the retirement of Ms. Dawn Panonsky, who was a Faribault High School counselor for many years, highly respected, and I wish to thank her for her years of service, for all the kids and staff and who she helped in the community, et cetera. Great career, greatly appreciated. And Dawn, thank you for your service to Faribault Public Schools and our students. So greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you. With that,
Chairman, Point of personal privilege.
Go ahead, Ms.
I
Boudreaux.
would just like to say that I'm very grateful for our staff, especially Barbie, who has done tremendous work, spent a lot of time on our budget and many details. And I also appreciate the fact that you were available to discuss some issues that I had requested, I had questions about, and I don't want in any way to have you leave this meeting tonight feeling that you may not have performed optimally. You performed very well in the work that you do for us, and I just wanted to state that. Don't want to leave here with anyone thinking that we are dishonoring any one of our staff. We appreciate our staff, all of them. And I just wanted to say that, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item number 11, dates to remember, information. 1 week from today, December 1, 2025, 5:30 p.m. is our regular business meeting and truth and taxation hearing. Agenda item number 12 is adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Thank you, Director Boudreaux. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Steves. Any discussion? Discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?